Welcome to Impact and Influence, the podcast for real estate business owners and professionals who are ready to make a bigger impact, scale, have greater sustainability, and increase their influence. This series opens the door to the sharpest minds across the industry, including agency owners, advisors, and trusted partners who share real-world insights and lessons learnt. These are short, practical conversations designed to save you time, sharpen your strategy, and help you build a business by design, not by default. If you're responsible for growth, profit, client experience, leadership, recruitment, or retention, this podcast is your go-to for smarter choices and more decisive leadership. It's proudly presented by Regrowth. We are a coaching and consulting business for the real estate arena. We help you build on capability, connection, and curiosity. Welcome back to another Impact and Influence series. I'm so incredibly excited and thrilled today to have Holly Parker with us. Hi, Holly. How are you?
Hi, how are you? So happy to be here.
Holly, I'm going to read out a little bit of your bio, which I don't usually read from any notes at all when I'm interviewing our guests, but it's such an esteemed and successful career. I don't want to leave anything out if that's okay. So Holly, founder and CEO of the Holly Parker team, number one team in New York for the last 3 years. You have been in the top 10 in the United States for as long as I can see going back. You moved across to Compass about 18 months ago, it looks like, from Douglas Elliman, where you were the number one team there for, it looks like the whole time you were there. It's just an incredible, incredible career. You're one of the city's most decorated real estate professionals, over $13 billion in your career. And it looks like every year you consistently write over $500 million. Being quoted in all the major publications over here. You've broken records and you are just an absolute powerhouse and superstar. You serve global network of high net worth clients, Fortune 500 executives, celebrities, investors and developers. And it is lovely to share the microphone with you today. How are you, Holly?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
And tell me, how did your career in property get started?
I was really lucky that I got into it very young, like right out of college. And my father was an investment manager for high net worth families. And I had watched him meeting with clients my whole life. And he had given me a little, when I would get money from grandparents or aunts or uncles, we would always invest it in Disney stock and stocks that I could relate to. So I grew up with that unbelievable kind of mentorship of how to grow assets. And he was always great in real estate. So I got to see what he did and how he managed that. And when I got out of school, I went and met with a lot of people and asked them what they liked about their career and what they didn't like about their career and sort of if there was a ceiling comp wise. And it really real estate just really stood out to me. And I got into it when I was 22 years old.
So I was going to say, how many years is it this year?
32.
32. At the top of your game still after 32 years. Now, I'm going to get straight into the questions if that's okay. So I was looking when you moved across from Douglas Elliman about 18 months ago. And I think when you've been with a brand for as long as you were, it was just over 24 years. Is that right, Holly?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's a big jump and a big leap of faith. What did that take to make that move? And what are the sort of things that went through your mind and why were you so passionate and convicted to the move?
Oh gosh, that's very complicated. Well, there was, I think Elliman was having some rough moments with sort of a past, and there was a question mark over it, which, we had the really unfortunate situation of having the Alexander brothers at the company for 10 years. And it was just one of the darkest, most horrific stories I've ever heard. I don't think any of us have been, so close to pure evil like that. So I'm a very emotional person. And so it really affected me. And I just, needed to step away from that.
Protecting your energy, I would imagine, is incredibly important, because before you and I came on camera, we were talking about the importance of energy, and we're in an energy game, and mindset of backing yourself just to go and do what is the right thing for you and your team. How important was that?
Like 100%.
Now, if you're continually doing over 500 million in volume every year, how do you keep yourself grounded? And how important is it to have the right team around you? And how do you ensure that your leadership keeps everybody doing what they need to do to allow you to do the gift that you have?
I think that everything has to come from within and come from the top. And sometimes it's really difficult to keep the energy moving. Life comes, and sometimes it comes at you all at once. And you got to figure out where you're going to fill your tank, right? And it's different as you age, right? It's different in my
priorities.
40s, my 30s, and all of that. So it's something that I do talk to the team quite a lot about. And for me in my 50s, and I lost both my parents in the last 4 years, one 6 months ago, and they were, my everything. So that's a big shift in your sort of earth access, right? Everything changes. So, at this point in my life, I get my energy from meeting incredible people. And when I say incredible, I don't just mean incredible success. That I've been meeting all along, and I've been so fortunate. I really, really have. But now I'm looking for people who are more philanthropic and big caretakers. And so I fill my tank by helping them fill their tank, and then we're filling each other's tanks. And it's a wonderful world, because I've joined different boards and we're doing incredible things. And so when I come back to the office from being on these outings, I come with a really full heart and a full tank to really do my best at caretaking, right? Because that's what this is all about. It's not only advisement, it's really putting their needs first, which I don't think very many people do in general, much less brokers.
That sustainability of self is so incredibly important for sustainability of your business, and as you said, for your clients. And that's probably a really good segue, Holly, into talking about the caregiving and the connections that you make with your business. Would you mind? We are fortunate enough to be in the top 10% of podcasts globally for leadership, which is a real honour. But because we've got people listening from all over the world, would you mind giving everybody a little bit of a context of the market that you play in and the sort of clientele that you service, so we can better understand the areas of New York predominantly that you operate in and what your business looks like?
I mean, New York, has been an incredible place of commerce, investment, Wall Street. Now we have Google and all of these places, but real estate is just such a fun game. And, Manhattan itself is an island, and now Brooklyn is a huge player, and all these different New Jersey and Hoboken and these places around us are really coming up with a lot of force. But, we get obviously international families and companies wanting to invest in New York City. And it's just been in you can imagine 32 years that I've been doing it. People are always saying, New York's done. They've had it. It's over. Mandani, this, that, the blackout, COVID. But I've seen too much to believe that any one, crisis or certainly mayor could ever take a city like New York down. It's just so vibrant, and it truly is a melting pot. And just the opportunity for people. It's outstanding.
There's something about the place. Like, I've been here a couple of times in winter, and this is actually my first time in summer, and it really, really is alive. But we were sitting at dinner with some people last night, and everyone was talking about it's the city of opportunity. Anything is possible. Holly, I was having a look on your website, and I sound like such a stalker when I say this, but when I was researching for today and doing my preparation for this interview, I noticed that it looks like you've got about 7 or 8 people in your team, and the team seems to sell from, circa $1 million right through to, it looks like you've done some sales at 130, 135 million. That's a huge scope. Could you talk to us a little bit about that in your team?
Well, I just, when families come and they say, our kids need help. Who should we go to? This is too small for you. I never, our whole game, and the thing that I really love is the relationship. And so I never, once you're a client, and what your needs are, no matter how small they are. And so even though I do have 32 years of experience, and in order to keep that exciting, you have to keep doing new things. So I've done a lot of different things and sold 11 buildings in New York and all types and all kinds. There's no thing that's too little, right? This game has been very good at humbling me, and I like myself better when I'm extremely humbled. So
you know what? I love that saying. I like myself better when I'm humble. That's a T-shirt I'm going to get printed, Holly. I love that.
I do.
I noticed, Holly, in talking to your team to get briefing for today, and they're so proud to be a part of your team, which is wonderful. How do you, as a leader, embody that through your team with culture and DNA and energy?
And I haven't had as much energy lately after losing my mom, right? She just died 6 months ago, and we had to deal with her estate and her house, and we had to put our dog down, of course, like 2 weeks later after she died. And so I had some big kind of life moments, and I don't have as much to come in and throw into the team. But I do my best to bring energy. I do a lot of meditating in the morning, and I try and come in and do my best to fill their tanks and give them direction. But it's okay to not feel like you're hitting it at 100% all the time.
That's good advice.
And just say, hey guys, here's where I'm at. I'm not going to rake myself over the coals. I'm going to give myself a little grace. And this is your chance to step forward and be leaders with me. We're a team, right? And we have another person kind of going through some stuff. But I've always felt in the 32 years that I have been doing this, when I'm having a hard time, it actually makes me a better broker. Because a lot of people moving is right under divorce and death.
Yeah, gives empathy.
Right? And so people are always going through stuff. And so these moments that maybe I don't have so much time to put back into the team, it's fine to just come and say, you guys are going to bring it a little bit more. We're going to go out for team drinks tonight. And we're going to let everybody feed off of everybody's energy. We're going to go to a small lunch, or we're going to do this. Like, we're all going to fill each other's tanks right now, because that's what a team is for. It's not just going to be me alone at this moment. And you know what? And it's okay. And sometimes it's even better. It gives other people the ability to step forward and lead in moments. So I think grace is grace and vulnerability are a very important part of leadership for me. And just being like, hey guys, here's where I'm at, right? You're going to have to come a little bit further. It's not just going to be me. I think
that's wonderful advice. Vulnerability in leadership will bring out the very best in people. But most importantly, what I heard there, and I am sincerely sorry about your mum, because my parents are everything to me as well, on such a good foundation. So sincerely, I'm sorry to hear about that.
Thank you.
But having each other's back is so important. And I don't think when you're operating at your level, you have to micromanage or be there. If you're running at the pace that you are and got the volume, people need to step up in their own individual roles, or there's probably not a role for them. Let's talk about the roles in your team. So what's the role that you play, and what are the other roles in your team, and what advice would that give to anybody that's trying to structure a business unit?
Yeah, so I'm like your traditional rainmaker, right? I go out and I
Definitely a
find the
rainmaker from your figures, I would say
and,
that.
and then I really open up the deals, and then I come in to close the deals, and really just like that sort of the wise one when people are either starting to hit a wall and feeling frustrated or wherever they're at. I like the psychological part, and I love the negotiating. I love the relational part. That's my magic right there. So and it just, I heard somebody once say, when life gets lifey, right? When stuff happens and they're feeling either, gosh, I don't know if I want to let go of this home, or, I had my kids here, or just whatever it is. I love getting into those trenches and talking out those feelings. Or if it's investments, I love numbers.
And what do the other agents in your team do, Holly? How do they lighten the load for you?
So, Kurt is Chief Operations Officer, and so he really handles everything when a deal is going to contract, and getting everybody where they need to be, getting it into contract, and then servicing them all the way through. And then I have Lindsay that sort of keeps the team together and helps with showings. And then we have the other members that have their own business but can help with mine as well. So it's a small, really intimate team that I've been loving lately. My team's kind of gone up and down with numbers. But for this moment in my life, this feels perfect. It's really allowing me to breathe and regenerate. And I'm such a people pleaser that if people aren't happy, it's really going to take a toll on me.
Okay. That's a trait we see in a lot of high-performing agents. A lot of agents, I don't think anyone likes conflict, but if everyone's happier and having a great time, it seems to serve a lot of high-performing agents. Why do you think that is?
I think you have to it's just like you get a client, to the finish line, and you're out celebrating one night, and then you get that call. Hi, I'm looking for an apartment. You start all over again. So you better helping people. And it's a series of problem solving, as you well know. And so you really got to love kind of getting things solved and making people lighter, right? Their lives easier.
That's a good analogy.
Making it lighter, making it more fun, hopefully. Making it more fun, making them laugh when things are stressed out. And really making them feel supported, that they can be seen and heard during difficult times. And the most important thing that I say over and over and over is that we really care, that we do really care.
And people want to be guided, I think. And if you can be that trusted advisor and make them feel safe and have a good time along the way, it's incredibly important. Holly, I've been looking at a lot of your branding, and I've subscribed myself to a few things on your website and some blogs, and the quality of content that you put out is quite exceptional. So you must have a bit of a passion for marketing as well as service, have you?
Yeah, I do. And we've, like anything, over these 32 years, I've brought in so many different experts to kind of lend their talent and their eye and see it from a different viewpoint. And of course, imitation is the best flattery, right? And so as soon as you kind of nail something, you have the world kind of copying it. So you got to keep changing it. So it's a constant update, and it has to feel that it's evolving with you and where you're at. And I'm different now than I was 18 months ago. And so I've changed so much in 18 months. So you want to kind of update your marketing to go along with that and feel kind of that energy and that transformation that you're going through that you want to pass on to your clients and to the world.
I think that helps you stay authentic to who you are as well as you continue to evolve. But I call it R&D. People love to rip off and duplicate in our industry. And if you are leading the charge, then people are going to follow. That's when you know that you're doing a great job. Can I ask, Holly, what are some of the things that you've done over the time with marketing initiatives that have had a real impact on either selling property or raising your profile or elevating your profile in your success?
That's an interesting question. I would say, we went through sort of a really fun phase, I would say, in right after Lehman fell, I would say around 2010, there were just so many tremendous opportunities for investment in New York. And I feel like we're kind of getting to that point again now.
Okay. What's driving that, Holly?
Well, the administration is, because they're making it not beneficial and prosperous for developers. So the developers are leaving, which will limit the new supply. So as I say it, it's sort of like having the last iPhone, right? Those big, beautiful buildings are going to be few and far between. They take 20 years to do from start to finish. So if those, big players are not in New York, it's going to be a while until another one comes along. So that's kind of what we were seeing a little bit after Lehman fell. And so I really started talking a lot about that and reaching out to, different players around the globe that were going to be sending their kids to New York City for school and different opportunities. And I would say that was a big difference. The difference from playing defense of just picking up the phone and playing offense with really being an analyst and someone that you could reach out to and say, this is what's going on.
I think that being proactive is so incredibly important in what we do. Now, at your level of your game and how long you've been around, there's no prospecting. I would imagine it's all repeat referral and nurturing relationships. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. So if we're talking about nurturing relationships, what are some of the things that you have in place for either communication cadence or experiences or gifting on closing? Could you talk to us about how you nurture those relationships?
Yeah, I would say, the way I describe it is you're trying to be a friend to, your 2,000 clients. So, trying to put their birthdays on the calendar, to sending a new dog collar if they've gotten a dog, really staying in touch with them through, Instagram's a great way to do that, is just following their lives and seeing something kind of monumental go down in their life and really reaching out and acknowledging that. Now our lives are so quick, and seeing sometimes if somebody says they're sick, we'll send, there's this great thing. What is it? You can send soup. It's like a spoonful of comfort. And so we send that. Yeah. And we'll just send a soup over, just very old school. I grew up on a little dead end in Rhode Island, and we really took care of each other in this small little town. And so I just try and go a little old school with that.
Old school never gets old, Holly, particularly when we're in a relationship business. You're one of the most recognised names in New York real estate. What are you still generally trying to figure out in the business that you're still learning?
Let's see. How are we trying to figure out this in the business? I would say at the place that I'm at, I want to kind of leverage my career to really help the world. And I know that's such a John Lennon big statement. So let me break it down to you. If I can use sort of where I'm at in my real estate to fuel things that matter, then that's what's interesting to me at this point. So, the different foundations that I'm involved in, and sort of it's a company called Harbor Fund, and they invest in movies that form culture all over the world, right? So I've declared that I'm going to give a certain part of how much I make into these films. And Telepathy Tapes is the first movie that I'm an executive producer of.
No,
and so
that's amazing.
So this fund will take if there are profits, they'll take that profit and reinvest it into other films that will raise consciousness into the world.
And
so, an impact, exactly. And Telepathy Tapes was the number one podcast in the world, more than Seth Rogen and for a moment. And Ben Affleck and Matt Damon bought the movie rights. So this is going to be a big, big movie that's going to sort of turn reality on its head and really talks about energy and how we really don't know everything and how we need to better caretake each other and the world. So it's all these wonderful, very
really big theme.
Things.
The last couple of days, Holly, it's been the three big themes have been compassion, energy, and community. And it's something that I've really, really noticed about the top performers we've been interviewing over here and how passionate you are about that. And it's lovely that you're at a stage in your career where you can do that. And for many of our listeners, everyone's at a different stage of their career. Is there any advice that you'd go back and give to a younger Holly when you were building your career or your sales career around either building your brand or mindset, like hang in there, it's going to be okay?
I would say really lean into self-development.
And how much do you think an agent or a leader, like I call it agent, you call it broker over here, or a leader should be investing in self-development a year?
I don't even know if it needs to be a number. If you're starting out and you don't have a lot of money, the podcasts today are free. And just take a walk, get up earlier, really treat yourself to listening to the top minds and longevity specialists and health specialists share that information. I didn't have that when I was 22. And I got to
so much out there now, isn't there?
During COVID, I've always been interested in it my whole life. So I was more going to Barnes and Nobles and taking out books. But now it's right at the end of your phone. So you can put in your headphones and go for a walk and really lean into how you can be more aligned with yourself. And when you're better aligned with yourself, you're going to be more aligned with your clients, and everyone's going to feel that. And, we're not all relationship people. I think a lot of people out there are transactional. And that's okay. You can't change your spots, right? Sometimes I think I would have made a lot more money. I know I would have made a lot more money if I was more transactional, but I get so into the relationship, that, the transaction kind of disappears. And transaction people should be more relational. But, I guess if everyone can just have an understanding of who they are and sort of where they need to fill in either with a person or at least understanding, right?
Well, I think it's so important to know what you are and what you are not probably first. So staying true to yourself is exhausting if you don't, I think. So, and that comes across with your client and your customer. Holly Parker, continually one of the top performers, and this is the first time we've actually met face to face, and I can feel your energy, which is lovely. But what are some of the habits and rituals that have helped you have the sustainability of career that you've had?
I would say I go outside of my comfort zone quite a bit and go to places I've never been before or adventures I've never been before. And I tie them into business because I'll go and see a client or get involved in what they're interested in. We've gone and built a school in Thailand with one of my clients. We did that 12 years ago. We just did it again this past this past December with her that was so special. And then she came over and went to a 5-day forum of Harbor Fund to see this new adventure that we've been working on, and was just so blown away by, the impact that Harbor Fund is doing and the 25 movies that they've already invested in. So it's like sharing these wonderful communities with each other, right? And so we built a school with her, or gone to different villages and seen people's their concerns and what passions they're working on, and that just brings so much optimism about the world. And especially right now, I think the news loves to sort of talk about everything that's not working. And I think that's very draining. And so I want to concentrate on what is working and the people that are making change. I think that makes us feel like, you know what, they're making a change, I can make a change. And that just brings more energy, doesn't it?
So would it be a good summary with your habits, rituals to say, do what serves you and warms the cockles of your heart, making sure your depth of relationship with your customer is extraordinary. Like those things that you've just been describing there of what you've done, that depth of relationship, I think is what I'm seeing as a habit and ritual, which is a byproduct of you being so genuine and caring about your customer. I want to ask you a couple of questions, if it's okay, Holly, around negotiation. So you mentioned earlier in today's interview that the two things you love is obviously being the rainmaker, but also secondly to that is the actual deal or the negotiation. Could you share with our listeners some tools or dialogue or lessons that you've learnt about negotiation over your career?
I would say don't rush things. When I first got into it, they would say, keep the momentum, keep it going. And I give everyone in a negotiation a little bit more time and a little bit more space to absorb, for myself to think about how I'm going to come back. And while you want momentum for sure, it's very Goldilocks there. You don't want too much time, but you don't need to rush it either, in some cases. And so I would say time, and give yourself time to absorb it, where you can really think about how you're going to come back, what you're going to advise, and your next move.
Great advice. Trust the deal.
Trust the deal. And it almost, telepathy tapes is really about energy. And so being a part of that movie really has changed my whole world and how I lead everything. So it all comes back to energy. Every single piece of it comes back to energy. And if you feel aligned and secure in how you're going to respond in your deal, they're going to feel it. If you're rushing it and you're sort of a little desperate, they're also going to feel it.
They will absolutely feel it. And Holly, I want to talk about high performers. I've got a lot of agents that I coach in Australasia, and they say things to me all the time like, oh, I have to go to the open home. The client will expect it. And I have an ethos that, when you build a team around you, you don't have to be at all the viewings and the open homes that you go to. What's your view on that?
I would say you can't, right? You can't. Again, it comes to energy. It comes to energy. And so,
it's fine.
Yes,
hi, kids.
I mean,
it's the real world, Holly. It's okay.
The real world. Yeah. And so you can't. And if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to burn out, which is real. It's scientific. You're going to get short. You're not going to like yourself, which is the biggest thing, right? You're not going to like you or how you lead or how you respond. And it's just too hard in New York to run like that. You'll run yourself down. You'll probably get sick eventually with something, either in your mind or in your body, and certainly in your soul. So no, absolutely not. And I think there's really been an epidemic in residential real estate where brokers have been very unhappy across the country post-COVID that I kept hearing about. And that's going to leak into a deal. It's going to leak back into your clients that the reason that we exist is to make this easier and lighter. And if we are bringing a heaviness, then there's no point for us to be there. So you have got to bring levity to this situation.
I think it's so incredible. We're seeing that as well a lot in Australia, Holly. We do a lot of retreats. So when I sold out of my last business and we started Regrowth Consultancy, our real intent and purpose was to make sure that we had sustainability, not of only healthy businesses with profit and performance, but sustainability of the clients that we worked alongside, because I got sick of seeing so many agents with addiction problems or burnout or divorce, and it was just really sad. So we do a lot of retreats and health and well-being. Are there any courses or programs or retreats or anything that you've done over the time that you would recommend or like to share with anyone listening?
Oh gosh, so many. I've always done them. And all over, I wrote a book and I put many of them in.
Did you say you wrote a book?
Yes, I wrote a book.
What's
Back
the
on
name
the
of your
market.
book?
It's back on the market. It's a realtor's guide to love and life.
We are going to put that in the show notes for sure, so people can go and grab it. Between books and movies, I'm just looking at Kurt over here in the corner. I'm like, I'm going to have to get some details on this movie that's coming out as well.
Yeah,
how do you juggle? All this, Holly?
Wedding dress and back on the market.
3.
Yes, and hopefully two will win Oscars. That's
pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
What are you most proudest of?
What am I proudest of? I am proudest of, I can't even say this because I'll cry. I'm going to cry.
That's okay.
The way I took care of my parents.
Beautiful. Well, giving back to mum and dad's a pretty incredible thing. I'll be super proud of that. And I just saw some little beautiful kids running around in the background. You've got twins, I believe. Yes. But the way caretaking, right? I'm proud of the way that I caretake, and they were my top job. So that feels great to have gotten them where they are right now. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing. I think it's beautiful how you talk about your mum and dad and your family, and you should be so incredibly proud. Holly, just 2 more questions if I can, if that's okay. What do you think our industry does well? And if you could change one thing about our industry, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. I think our industry is outstanding. I don't think people really understand what goes into everything that we do. Sort of the service in this moment of, it's such a shift for people leaving their home and finding another home, and the questions that come up, and whether there's a death or divorce or the family is getting bigger or getting smaller. Those are all very emotional things. And I guess I'm most proud of the way that we help people through life. We help people get from one kind of transition to another. And, what could we do better, or what I just wish wasn't there? I wish, it's so important what we do. And because there's money around it, especially the way people talk about it, I wish they could see it from my viewpoint, right? Where people are like, "Oh, you're a real estate broker." I'm like, "Wow." I've made millions and millions and millions of dollars for families, for individuals. I've helped women pay off their business school loans, their college loans, to really understand how you can make money in real estate. And when you don't have much money at all, the United States really favors you if you have a job and you have credit, you have good credit, you can really do very well and compound your wealth extraordinarily. I remember like right at the beginning of my career, one of my closest girlfriends almost had a free ride to Wharton, right? The number one business school in the States. And she had a full scholarship. But there were some extra costs that she was still kind of saddling from her housing or whatever that was. And, it was in the thousands. And so I helped her pay that off. And through her, I think her first apartment was $149,000, and we ended up selling it for $290,000. But she was, she had a great style. And so we went in there and we painted and we made some changes to the kitchen and made it, shined it up, and she got to pay off her loans that were saddling her. So it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary to have a home that can also be a financial vehicle to get you more secure or get you out of debt. And so, especially doing that with people that just start out, and that's why I love working with first time buyers. See, right there.
Well, it's life-changing for those people, right?
Right? Life-changing. And that makes me feel so powerful that I can change someone's life like that. And so I actually love it. And, but doing it for Colleen, I was so young in my career, and watching her pay off those loans that were really stressing her out was just so much fun. So,
I'm such a big believer in what you put out is what you get back. And I think, Holly, obviously where you are in your career, you're able to do that a lot more now. But it's interesting you say about the industry. I was married to a lawyer for 23 years, and we'd go to dinner parties or functions, and we have that same problem in Australia. Oh, you're a real estate agent, and they call us cowboys back home. And it used to really irk me because there's 20% or 30% of the population that are agents that are particularly wonderful and professional at their job and what they do. How do you think we elevate that, or we get rid of that perception? Is it a harder entry to barrier, like a harder barrier to entry for the industry, or if they've got to be bigger penalties?
I think it's just, unfortunately, that I don't know whether it's just because we're surrounded, any business that's surrounded by money is going to have a little bit of a problem, right? Bankers, people in finance, real estate brokers, right? But, and you just don't want, I never want people to feel mistrusted, but everything is an industry. Going to a doctor and saying, do I need surgery, right? They have to pay their bills too. Maybe you don't need surgery, but they need a patient. Who knows? So listen, with everything in life, again, we're going to go back to energy. You have to find your advisors that you can
find
trust.
Your tribe.
You got to find your tribe. And you do that from being first aligned yourself, and then finding the people that you can trust and get a referral, and go with your gut. You know, right? We all know what feels best. And so I would say that. But I do wish that we had a better reputation, because for what I do for people and how some people respond, I just think, oh, that's too bad that you have that perception. Because if you're going in with that perception, it's really hard for me to help you. Right.
Sometimes too, we're not overly great. And look, you're great with marketing, but sometimes the things we do behind the scenes, we don't want to, sing it from the rooftop because we don't want to seem like we're skiting. But it's how the story, I think, is told, and being incredibly proud of those things that you're doing. And Holly, what I'm hearing from you today, loud and clear, is energy, compassion, vulnerability, but the depth of the relationship with you have with your customer will serve you and your business. Holly, thank you so much for your time. I'm very mindful and respectful of how long I've taken with you. Is there one bit of advice or a quote that you'd like to leave our listeners with that you live by?
That I live by? I mean, lately, I guess I am a little John Lennon lately, but when everybody sees this movie, they're going to get it. It's love is the answer.
I love it.
It just is. This movie is I think one of the most important movies of our lives. And it's about nonverbal autistic children having mental telepathy. So when everybody sees it, they'll know what I mean.
And when's it coming out, Holly? When does it drop?
So Amazon bought it, and they're putting more behind it than any other documentary in history. How exciting is that? And I think they're taking it to all of the festivals because everybody is so excited about it. It's that these kids who are taught to spell and communicate for the first time can read minds and from all over the world. And so it's really astounding because they can read energy and they have so much to tell us about the world and how we're living. And we really have a lot of things backwards.
Can't wait to see it from someone that has lived through cancer and chemo, and I'm a big believer in energy and serving self and looking after things. I'll be so incredibly excited to see it. Holly, congratulations on your personal life, your business life, and for being so humble and sharing so much time with us today, and for what you do for the industry. Very, very grateful, and we'll look forward to sharing this interview with our listeners all over the world.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so flattered with all your wonderful praises. Thank you. I wish you could just follow me around all the time.
Holly, thank you. Enjoy your time with your family.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Impact and Influence. Click follow to get notified about future episodes. Leaving a review helps others find the podcast. And to learn more about our courses, our study tours, conferences, keynote topics and our services, or how simply we might be able to help support you in taking you to places you never thought possible, please visit regrowthkyliewalsh.com.